This is a video for Debbie, Tammy and Ava. Well, girls, we had Albie out at his first competition for the season. We took him down to the Jumping Branch Horse Trials, which is just a local event in Aiken. It's not very glamorous, but it was a nice outing for me just to get a feel of the horses. Albie was a little bit nervous and anxious in the dressage. As you can see there, we sort of came around the corner and we accidentally popped into canter, and he trains really, really well at home. He's nice and calm and relaxed in training at home. And when I first hopped on him at the show, he was a little bit anxious and nervous. So these little shows are good for me to ride him at, just because he definitely did change from the horse that we have at home. And the dressage phase wasn't our strongest phase. We didn't get a very good score. We got a 35. I think a big part of it was him just being a little bit up and tight. Now, to Albie's defence, he hasn't been to a competition in some time. He's been, I think he had a bit of an injury in mid-year last year in a fence, and he's sort of just been coming back since then. So I'm sure he was excited to be out and about again. I played it safe and just put him in the open training. This was a super duper easy course for him. The show jumping, he jumped brilliantly, and then the cross country was fantastic. I'd say the best thing that I loved about him is he's got a great gallop. He feels like he's got lots of speed. I looked at his breeding. He's got quite a lot of thoroughbred. We see the mother side, I think. I'll think of it in a second. Clover Hill, which is sort of 3/4 thoroughbreds, the mother. In the dressage, obviously, I feel like I got to ride him a little more uphill. He sort of gets slightly down and a bit hanging on the reins. So, and he definitely changes at the competition. I was surprised how sort of nervous he got when I first hopped on him. He was a bit anxious, and so these little competitions are a perfect opportunity for me just to get the hang of him and feel all the little parts about it. I know he's a sensitive horse. The good news is, it was a tough training, but he flew around the course. It was very, very easy for him, and it was a luxurious ride. So anyway, after this competition, I'm pretty confident with him. I feel like our next contest should be the preliminary level. There's another sort of low-key event in Aiken in a couple of weeks' time called Sporting Days. That's a pretty easy competition, and it should be a straightforward prelim. And it would be another good opportunity just for me to get the hang of him. After doing his dressage today, I'm going to I think training him in a low frame and a stretching frame is good, but I think I've got to practice more getting him up and light in his and off his forehand a little bit. It's a little bit his conformation, but then I feel like I got to get him rocked back in his balance slightly and sort of get him carrying himself a little more on his hips. It's going to take some time for me to really get the feel of him, but it wasn't terrible. We got a score of 35, and I looked at the scores. Liz usually did substantially better than me, so I've got to get to work on him. The show jumping was good. We've had him at a show jumping show. Actually, Peter rode him a couple of weeks ago at Bruce's Field, and he's a great jumper. He's got a fantastic back end. The jumps were nearly not quite big enough for him. In the warm-up, I jumped a couple of taller ones, and he really lets go and uses himself in the air.
Thank you.
You can see as the oxes get a little bit bigger and wider, he starts to crack his back a bit. But the jumping part's very good. And as I said before, I'm also very, very impressed of his speed and how light he was on his feet cross country. I think Peter Wild's going to be coming back to train me and look at all the horses in about 10 days' time. So we'll put Albie and work Albie with Peter when he comes back. I was pretty impressed with him. Like, I know this is an easy course, but he hasn't been out to a show in some time. So I was sort of glad that we played it safe and just put him in a nice easy class. And there really wasn't a bad moment. He was a little bit surprised that we were turning to the water jump. I remember that. I think you might even see it in a moment where the turn to the water was slightly abrupt. We've been working quite hard at his fitness. Down here in Aiken, he does one of the days he does a 2-hour walk and trot through the trails, and then on the Saturdays, usually if he's not competing, we've got him cantering for 4 miles slowly. A little bit interval training. I'd say he would have lost a little bit of his fitness with his break, but in a weird kind of way, I think it's important to just gently get to know each other and not face too much difficulty in the first couple competitions together. We want to try and make it a little bit too easy for him while I get the hang of him. He's been quite healthy. I've had my vet check him over once or twice, and he seems to be good and sound, and he's lovely to have around the barn. Anyway, guys, I'll check in with you in a couple of weeks' time as we get ready for our first preliminary horse trials together.